Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the Victoria ISD hosts a series of information meetings on the upcoming voter-approved tax rate election. Plus, Victoria County leaders are looking at alternatives to tax abatements to entice new business. And Milton strengthens rapidly into a Category 5 hurricane on a path toward Florida. We have the latest.
We'll have the latest coordinates on Milton coming up in a moment, but you can see the effects that we're having on us. Absolutely nothing. Beautiful couple of days coming up with temperatures staying around 90 degrees. We'll have all the latest weather for you coming up after this.
Plus, a volunteer safety officer scares off 2 suspicious men outside a Texas church, including one with a rifle. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon, and thanks for being with us. I'm Shawna Currie. All right. So we're going to our viewer poll to start off today. There's a voter-approved tax rate election coming up for Victoria ISD, and they're holding a series of informational meetings so that the public can learn more about them. Do you plan to attend one of these information sessions soon? They're throughout the month. Yes, no, or already attended one. Right now, 71% of you say that you do not plan to attend one of these meetings. So continue to participate by going to crossroadstoday.com/vote, and we'll have the latest for you at 6. And one of those meetings is tonight, taking place at Victoria East High School. 25 News Now reporter Trenton Whiting joins us now live with a look ahead to what will be going on at that meeting. Trenton.
Thanks, Shawna. VISD plans to have a meeting about the Vatry election here at 6:30 in Victoria East Library. It's going to be discussing a tax rate increase intended to boost wages for teachers and staff in Victoria ISD schools. It would create around $7 million in additional funding for salaries if passed. Teachers could see a salary increase anywhere from $1,500 to $7,000. Clerical staff and bus drivers would see a $2 an hour pay raise. Taxpayers would see about a rate of about 89 cents per $100 valuation. That's a 9-cent increase, which is over the maximum they can increase taxes without an election. Interim Superintendent Randy Meyer says that the board has dropped the school tax rate 39 cents over time. He says the district is asking for 9 cents back to help fund their staff.
We want to keep our excellent, awesome teachers. We need to pay them a competitive wage because everybody else around us is wanting our teachers. And if they're willing to pay more than we are, we're not going to be able to keep them here for our kids. We want you to stay here in Victoria. We need you here in Victoria, and Victoria loves you back and thanks you for what you're doing for our students.
Our trustees are definitely being able to be trusted. They have worked like yeomen to get things done. And the money that is being spent just where we asked them to spend it, which is for our teachers and also to make sure that we get and maintain the best maintenance guys that money can buy.
The Vatry will be on the November 5th election, but it's already too late to register to vote as that option closed at 5 p.m. today. We'll be here for the meeting at 6:30 and give you the latest. Reporting live, Trenton Whiting, KAVU-TV, 25 News Now.
All right, thanks a lot, Trenton. Well, a voter-approved tax rate election is also on the November 5th ballot for voters in Industrial ISD. Industrial ISD will hold a community informational meeting for its VATRE tomorrow, starting at 6 p.m. at the Lolita Fire Hall. A presentation will be followed by time for questions and answers from those in attendance. Well, Victoria County leaders are looking at alternatives to tax abatement as a way to bring in new businesses. Attracting new businesses to the Crossroads area is something that most people are in favor of. But county officials are still unsure how, if any, tax abatement plans should be presented. In what is known as the pilot program or payment in lieu of taxes program, county officials could give a tax abatement status to new businesses, freeing them of a tax burden for a set period of time. However, county officials could still ask businesses to make payments to the county while in the abatement period. Some officials think the pilot program would provide income to the county, while some think that this would be a reason that future business opportunities could decide not to move to Victoria County.
Looking at continuing conversations with the Port of Victoria, VEDC, and other stakeholders to figure out what is the best way to craft a language that may include an inclusion of this payment in lieu of taxes to coincide with future tax abatements.
County officials chose not to take action on implementing the pilot program at this time to give them more time to research. Titus says with the expected growth at the Port of Victoria, any pilot program could ultimately interfere with that growth. Milton has rapidly strengthened into a Category 5 hurricane as Florida gears up for what could be its biggest evacuation in 7 years. The major hurricane is moving over the Gulf of Mexico, headed toward population centers, including Tampa and Orlando. The Tampa and Clearwater Airport planning to suspend operations tomorrow morning. Orlando plans to close Wednesday. ABC's Mike Dubusky reports from Florida.
Hurricane Milton is racing across warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico and rapidly intensifying. NASA images from the International Space Station showing just how massive the storm has become.
It became a hurricane very quickly, and so not only is it a hurricane, it's already a major hurricane.
Forecasters are predicting a potentially record-breaking storm surge of 8 to 12 feet to hit the Tampa Bay area Wednesday night. This is higher than Helene's storm surge that broke records with 6 to 8 feet. ABC's Ginger Z is in Tampa.
8 to 12 feet is the kind of surge that moves homes. Single-story home, I've seen this happen before. The power of the ocean is incredible.
If they have called for your evacuation order, I beg you, I implore you to evacuate. Drowning deaths due to storm surge are 100% preventable if you leave.
Residents are doing what they can to prepare ahead of the storm. Hardware and grocery stores are overwhelmed. People scraping the last bits of sand for sandbags. Luckily, a truck arriving with a new supply.
Just in terms of preparation, you just got to do what you can early, and it is what it is, right?
Florida bracing for Milton less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene hit the same area.
This is the oddest weather predicament that there has ever been. So I can't believe that there's already another one.
Piles of debris from Helene still litter the streets. The state removing more than 500 truckloads in the last 24 hours. The governor has ordered landfills to be open around the clock to help speed cleanup.
It's going to be flying missiles. Stuff's going to be floating, flying in the air. So all the houses have debris piled up as high as you can see.
Mike Dubusky, ABC News, New York.
Hurricane Helene hit many homeowners in the wallet. The Category 4 hurricane caused up to $47.5 billion worth of damage, according to CoreLogic. The data analytics firm adds that roughly half of that total comes from uninsured flood losses. Helene's wrath was felt in 16 states, including Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. At least 232 deaths have been reported from Helene, which makes it the second deadliest hurricane to hit the U.S. mainland in the past half century. Well, now let's take a look at your first look at your first warn storm team forecast. Here's Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac.
Thank you very much, Shawna. Well, it's going to be all Milton all the time for the next 7 days. We are going to be dealing with this because, again, Texas is on the north side of the system. We're getting no significant weather out of it, but this is going to be one for the record books, already on the record books. It went from a 0 to a 5 in about 24 hours. Nonetheless, that it's so late in the season, that's another record. And the fact that it'll be a 5 here and then probably hit Tampa Bay as a Category 3, it's going to be an enormous problem for Florida. We'll have more on that and on your forecast coming up a little bit later on. Back to you, Shawna.
All right, thanks a lot, Mac. Family and friends of hostages held by Hamas staged a silent protest in Tel Aviv today as Israel marked the first anniversary of the October 7th attacks. Many of those whose loved ones remain in captivity are angry at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government for its failure to secure the hostages' release in the months since. Hamas-led militants stormed through Israeli towns and kibbutz villages near the border on October 7th, 2023, killing 1,200 people and taking about 250 as hostages. A volunteer safety officer scared off 2 suspicious men, including one with a gun, outside a Texas church on Sunday. No one was hurt, but police are looking for the pair. Jamal Kennedy has more details and reaction from a neighbor.
Stuff like this doesn't happen around here. Never.
Roland Rodriguez has lived a good portion of his life in the town of Burnett. He says it's a good place to live.
It's slow, like I like it. It's everybody's nice.
He says he's never witnessed any problems around. So,
how concerning or how shocking is it to hear about what happened this morning at the church up here?
I don't know about fear. It's very concerning. It was just outside my neighborhood.
The Burnett County Sheriff's Office says deputies responded to Epicenter Church on North U.S. Highway 281 this morning for a welfare check. When they arrived, they say they learned shots had been fired at the church by a member of the volunteer safety team. According to the Sheriff's Office, the safety team member said he confronted 2 suspicious male suspects, one with a rifle, outside the church. The safety team member fired multiple rounds, causing the suspects to flee. Rodriguez says that volunteer is a hero.
What would have happened if the security guard wasn't there? It could have been bad for everybody in the church.
The sheriff's office says no one was injured. The suspects fled in a white van. Police are now searching for the 2 men. Rodriguez says he just wants to know their motive.
I'd want to know their intentions. Is it going to happen again? What do? We just got to protect each other.
Students from immigrant families appear to have lost out on state grant money for college because of a glitch with the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, confirming fears from earlier this year. To read the full Texas Tribune article, log on to our website, crossroadstoday.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell while you're there. Stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 5. With less than a month till Election Day, candidates are hitting battleground states. Also ahead, a new study shows that wrong arm positions during blood pressure checks may lead to overestimated numbers. Month to Election Day, the presidential nominees are making ground in key swing states. Republican nominee Donald Trump campaigning in key battleground states, while Democratic nominee Vice President Kamala Harris goes on a media blitz. ABC's Melissa Dawn has the latest.
Hey, Trump and Harris both marking 1 year since the terror attacks by Hamas in Israel. Trump in New York visiting what is considered one of the holiest sites for some Jews. Harris planting a tree at the vice presidential residence in D.C. in honor of those killed. Harris speaking to 60 Minutes as part of a media blitz this week, saying her economic plan to invest in small businesses will be an investment on the middle class. Harris asked how it will be paid for.
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
Former President Trump planning stops in 2 battleground states this week, Pennsylvania and Michigan. This weekend, he went to Wisconsin, a state in which he lost by about 20,000 votes in 2020. Trump speaking about a number of key issues for voters, including immigration, promising mass deportations.
We're not going to be stuck with them. We're going to be bringing them back, and we're going to shove them right down their throat. They should have never been allowed to be here.
Walz is in LA with an appearance planned on Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight. As for the vice president, she will appear on The View tomorrow. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
A federal law requiring hospitals to provide emergency abortion care or lose federal funding cannot be enforced in Texas. The law, known as the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, says federally funded hospitals must perform emergency abortions even in states that ban the procedure. The state of Texas successfully sued the Biden administration over the law, and it was upheld by a lower appeals court. The Justice Department asked the Supreme Court to wipe away that ruling and instruct the lower courts to reconsider the case. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court sided with the state, leaving in place the court order blocking the Biden administration from enforcing the policy. A new study finds common but incorrect arm positions during blood pressure checks may lead to overestimated numbers. The recommended position is having your arm supported on a table with the middle of the cuff positioned at heart level, but that isn't always the way readings are taken at home or in the doctor's office. The study found having your arm resting on your lap or hanging by your side can lead to overestimated readings by several millimeters of mercury. A cardiologist not involved in the study says he does not see the margin of overestimation in the study, leading to a doctor writing a prescription for someone with normal blood pressure. But for someone already with hypertension, it could lead to a change in dosage. Well, experts say early detection of breast cancer is critical, and there's a way to guide women toward the best time to start screening for the disease. It's called a breast cancer risk assessment. Mandy Gaither explains.
When it comes to breast cancer detection and prevention, one size does not fit all.
Individualized care should be involved when it comes to breast screening and breast care. And that means that everybody's going to have a different screening protocol based on their personal and family history.
Breast surgeon Dr. Erica Peters with Cleveland Clinic says that's why breast cancer assessments are done to measure an individual patient's risk of developing the disease. There are many tools that can help, including surveys online or done in a doctor's office. The questions calculate risk based on things like age, family history of breast cancer, or other cancers that might indicate cancer-causing genetic mutations, personal medical history, age of first live birth, race and ethnicity, breast density, and hormone exposure. The patient's score will determine when to start breast cancer screening.
Most average women should start annual mammograms at age 40. Some women should start screening sooner based, again, on that personal and their family history.
Peters says all women should get a breast cancer risk assessment at age 25, especially when there's a family history of breast cancer. For those who don't know that history, genetic testing can help.
We rely on our genetic counselors who can do a pedigree to the degree that we know about family history, and then do testing to see if you do carry a genetic mutation that increases one risk of breast or other cancers.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are looking at beautiful skies, lovely weather here in the Crossroads. Looking at 94 right about now, maybe a little warm for October, right? We managed to get up to 95 as our high today, and we're supposed to be around 87 this time of year. But the reason we're getting all this dry weather is because of Milton. Here, obviously, we had no rain today, but I've calculated that we've been 28 days without any rainfall, and that's not going to be changing over the next few days. More on that coming up after this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Couldn't ask for nicer weather. It's a little warm for this time of the year, but you can see how we're getting this northerly wind blowing over our area. It was a little gusty. Where did that come from? From Milton. You've heard about Milton, right? Milton, we talked about Milton last week when it was a blob right off the coast of Tampico. It strengthened to a hurricane and went from a 0 to a 5 within about 24 hours. It's going to be a monster storm, and right about now it's located off the tip of Yucatan. It's about 150 miles an hour right about now, so even the Yucatan is getting affected by this. We, being on the backside, we're getting the dry northerly winds and the dry air because it's going from higher elevations. Let's say Dallas. Dallas is about 2,000 feet above sea level. We're at sea level, so when it goes from 2,000 feet down to 0, we get a warming wind. It's called a downslope wind. So that's why we're looking at rather warm temperatures all over the area, warmer than they are up there. So interesting developments, as Milton will be one for the record books. As a 5, it's going to be rolling through portions of the Yucatan. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, huge problems right here. Now, these problems from a 5 are going to start propagating across the entire Gulf. So I expect that even we later this week are going to be seeing some rough surf, certainly northern Gulf of Mexico, certainly Cuba. And then when does it come ashore? Well, it looks like it'll be, like I said, as a 5 now, decreasing down to a 3 on Wednesday. Now, this is my interpretation. The line here is right over Tampa Bay. That is not good news at all. They got hammered by Helene when it was going this way. Now anybody from Tampa Bay to Fort Myers, they better start moving now. This is not going to be a casual little weekend thing. And you know, a lot of people, they go, well, we stayed and we didn't have any problems. Right. Great way to gamble on your life, huh? So this is a situation where they need to move to higher ground, interior, away from the storm surge, and it's going to be hard once the freeways get packed. Sorry about that flash. It's going to work its way out, but you can see how we have 1, 2, 3, 4 systems still in the Atlantic in October, which is extremely unusual. So here is Milton. Milton's going to be rolling across the Gulf, then slams into central western Florida, then goes across the entire peninsula, comes out still as a hurricane over Jacksonville, and then finally moves out to sea. So southern Georgia and even the coastal areas of South Carolina are going to be hammered by that storm as well. So let's just say, like I said, it's all Milton all week long. Tomorrow we're looking for lots of sunshine. 92 here in the Crossroads down in Port Lavaca. Cuero looking abundant sunshine, beautiful weather, really. Just, you know, say a prayer for Florida with high temperatures a little above normal for this time of year. We're getting a couple of little north winds. I'm calling them a frontal system, but it's really more of a dry line coming through. So at some points in time, you'll directly feel the north wind caused by Milton, but we're so far away from it. The good news, you'll notice that our nighttime temperatures are going to be very comfortable, getting down to the low 60s. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Shawna.
All right, thanks a lot, Mac. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at your stocks. Plus, Ram has recalled nearly 130,000 trucks for turn signal issues. Find out which ones are included. your stocks today. The Dow closed down 399 points. The S&P 500 is down 55 points, and the Nasdaq is down 214 points. Oil is up $2.87, closing at $77.25 per barrel. A key borrowing rate for American consumers has climbed to a level we haven't seen in months. Today, the yield on the benchmark 10-year U.S. Treasury note broke 4% for the first time since August. That extends a jump in the 10-year yield last week after a blowout September jobs report on Friday. The 10-year yield tracks the rate on things like mortgages, student loans, and car loans. The increase will leave consumers with higher costs to borrow for big-ticket purchases. Want to get a jump on your holiday shopping? Well, Black Friday prices are here weeks before Black Friday itself. Target has already launched its Circle Week shopping event. Kohl's kicks off a sale today. Amazon's Prime Day sale starts tomorrow, along with Walmart and Best Buy launching sales events of their own. Some Ram truck owners will need to take a trip to the dealer. Chrysler is recalling more than 129,000 of its MyRam 1500 pickups that were built in 2023. The National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration says there's an issue with the steering column control module in these vehicles. Officials say the glitch could cause drivers to erroneously signal for a lane change, which could result in an accident. Drivers of affected trucks will receive a notification in the mail this month, and repairs will be made free of charge. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, the historic Big Boy locomotive draws hundreds of fans to Houston, just one stop of a 10-state tour. We'll take a look at where it's headed next. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on World News Tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up tonight, we have breaking news. Hurricane Milton has now exploded into a Category 5 hurricane set to slam into Florida. This is the most powerful hurricane in the Gulf in nearly 2 decades. Ginger standing by with a new forecast just in from the National Hurricane Center. We're next.
Well, train enthusiasts in Texas are in for a treat. The world's largest steam locomotive, Big Boy, was in Houston this past weekend. Union Pacific's famous locomotive weighs in at more than 1 million pounds. It's 132 feet long and has traveled more than 1 million miles. The 83-year-old steam engine was used during World War II. Now, Big Boy's trip through Texas is part of the Heartland of America tour. It kicked off in August in Wyoming. It moved through the Midwest. And now it's finishing up the tour in Texas. Again, it was in Houston this last weekend. Tomorrow it will be in Bryan. Then it's traveling to Marlin, to West, and stopping in Fort Worth for several days this next upcoming weekend.
Wow,
So,
and then you can actually see where the train railroad lines are. You know,
yeah.
It's so rare that we actually see a train moving. You know, that's going to be fascinating. Steam powered. How about
Yeah,
that?
so if you're headed up there for either the UT game or the state fair, anything like that, you can check it out.
Let's head out now for the UT game, and OU weekend up in Dallas. Well, folks, we've got some gorgeous weather in store. We're kind of sitting here kind of guilty thinking about what's going to be happening to Florida. This is going to be one for the record books in terms of Florida. In terms of us, we're looking sunny skies all the way through, dry weather, northerly winds, and temperatures still staying sort of grudgingly. It's still in the 90s, but that's the way it goes. At least we're not having to deal with an evacuation order, which is what they're doing, hopefully, doing right now in
They're
Florida.
just getting back to cleaning up and trying to recover and back at it again.
No time to be obstinate. It's time to go.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Be sure to join us back here for 25 News Now at 6. World News is next.